everybody. This is the one, and I'm bringing you Chapter 4 of a 4-part series, Nintendo Hate Fanboys. The original plan was for me to really let loose in this chapter, talk about the issues I have with fanboys and their constant Nintendo hate. But when I was thinking about this video, instead of just focusing on one set of fanboys, let's talk about fanboys in general. Where they come from, when did they change, and how can we improve them for the better. Fanboy, fan, fanatic, they're the same thing. A video game fanboy is a person that is all out in love with the video game industry, from the companies to their systems to their games. But usually they pick a side and stay with that side. I'm talking about ride or die. Fanboys are the ones who are standing out in the rain, camping out weeks in advance in anticipation of arrival of a new hardware, a new system. Fanboys are the ones who get the companies their initial first sales. When it comes to major releases and major blockbuster games, the hardware, accessories, hell, even horrible video game movies get love from fanboys most of the time. Fanboys also are the ones that spread the gospel of their system of choice. They're the ones who spread the word to new consumers, new buyers, in hopes to make them part of their army. I'm not going to say that there won't be a point in this video where I won't just start letting fanboys have it. But instead of focusing on the negative, we will cover the negative, but instead of focusing on it, let's try to see can we change this problem and get fanboys back to what they used to be. The fanboys of the past, of the golden age in gaming, are now the game developers of today. You see, back in the day, the gaming industry was new. It was fresh. After the crash of the Atari era and Nintendo came in, a new era was born. New companies were coming to the front, making games for the new platforms, the Nintendo and Sega Master System. And since gaming was now on this new explosion, this new exciting thing, it attracted the young kids. Well, fanboys came out of it as the kids who really got deeply involved with gaming. They were the ones who fell in love with the characters of the games, the stories the game presented. They fell in love with the way you play the game, the type of controls, and in some cases the looks of the game, or even the soundtrack the game had. And so those young kids, they saw it as, wow, this new medium was something that they could be creative with, kind of like drawing or comic books before it. And for the most part, these people, these fanboys they were the nerds of society. They were the fat kid who wasn't that athletic, or the skinny kid who was real smart. And these kids already were the rejects of society. They were the ones getting their lunch money taken and getting beaten up by the bullies, getting laughed at by the popular kids, and getting rejected by the girls. So when they found others who shared the same interests they did, which was video gaming, they formed small video game societies. And even though there were 2 platforms, maybe 3 platforms in the past, because they were still all gamers, there was at least a sense of respect back then. The average fanboy war of the past was 2 kids arguing over who was better, Mario or Sonic. Or maybe even who had the better games, Nintendo or Sega. Then the fact that they were nerds, on average they were non-confrontational. They thought with their mind, they used their intellect. So it was better to argue than to be aggressive. And their conversations were always more debates and more about I want to challenge you with my mind than trying to start a fight with you. So arguments and debates never got to that level. Unlike today. You see, when Sony entered the gaming industry, it created a shift in the style, in the way fanboys originally were. Sony was the first mass market hit system. Yeah, before then Nintendo was ruling the gaming industry, but it was still something that only nerds did. The PlayStation came out, and all of a sudden it became cool to play video games. The game types that populated the PlayStation platform brought in a different mentality for the fanboys. There are more sports games, so regular guys who like to play sports, if they couldn't go outside in the rain and play football, they could play Madden on their PlayStation. That overly aggressive young male who always beat up people and got in fights, maybe he was getting tired of getting arrested or getting disciplined for fighting. So he could start playing a game like Tekken or Street Fighter on a PlayStation and take out his aggressive natures on the game. So you can say that these gamers really didn't have a deep, heartfelt love for the game characters or the game series they were playing. It was something to do. And because everybody was doing it, why not be like everybody else? They weren't sitting around dreaming of one day creating the game they were playing. It was, I'm not doing anything right now, so let me do this. Why not do this? To better illustrate how this causes a problem, I'm going to use what I like to call my wrestling example. You see, to be a fanboy back in the day is like being a member of the NWO in WCW. You're totally against the grain. Everybody hates you. Everybody thinks you're weird. Something's wrong with you. And you're fine with that. But see, when the PlayStation came out and they took over the industry, they created another kind of fanboy. And we can call them the Wolfpack. NWO Red. So now you have two groups within the main fanboy source. The black and white and the red. And they don't like each other. Mainly because members of the red used to make fun, beat up members of the black. And members of the black don't like the red because in their mind, they're the originators. They're the true fanboys. They're the hardcore. Another way to look at it in wrestling terms, old school Nintendo, Sega Genesis fans, they're like the Hulk Hogan and Ric Flairs of wrestling. They were there back in the beginning. They were the stars back in the beginning. But they're still around. And they want their respect. Then you have the PlayStation fanboys who came in during the 90s. They're the Stone Cold Steve Austin, kind of Shawn Michael era guys. They're stars in their own right. Big super mega stars. But their wrestling is different from the old school ways. It's more about, being, instead of being the good guy, you're more the bad guy. So there's two fundamental differences in their philosophies. Nintendo, they make their games the way they make their games. It's about gameplay. It's about characters. It's a cartoon style stuff. It's cute. It's happy. Then you have the other systems who have their hardcore mature look. It's about guns. It's about blood. It's about action. And so with these two different ways of thinking, of course they're going to bump heads. But see, this has only become a real problem now that there's a third group into the fanboy world. The casual gamer. I'll finish this up in the last chapter. See you next time. Peace.